Alright, in this video we're going to do answers to homework 1. First I'm going to open that file. Okay, so we're supposed to put this in a directory called hw. If you don't have one yet, you would mkdir hw, and then we're supposed to save a file called hw1.txt. I'm just going to save this file. Okay, so this is my file. I'm going to start with this, put my name, Jeff Kinney, solutions for homework 1. Okay, and then I'm supposed to put the information here. So total amount of memory, free -h is human readable. The total memory available is, so I'm looking for this line here, memory is 503 gigabytes. If you said 500 gigabytes, I counted it. Okay, so this system that I'm logged into has 503. If I logged into, for example, X1, you would get a different answer. So if you're in the X1 computer in the Unix lab, that has 15 gigabytes. Alright, second question, df-h. So this lists all the drives. These /dev/sda things are real physical drives, and these other ones are other things. But what I was looking for was the total of all of this. So if we add up all of these, let's see, 1.9 terabytes plus 7.3 terabytes plus 1.9 terabytes plus 4.5 terabytes plus 7.3 terabytes plus the ones with gigabytes, 0.03 plus 0.03 plus 0.252 times 4 plus 0.03. So there we got basically 24. That's a different answer than I got earlier. So right now it's saying 24 terabytes. When I did this earlier I had gotten basically 17 terabytes. Okay, so people that got 24, if you want to have me give you a point back, I can. That depends on, there's some new drives that our systems administrator was, oh wait, that was a mistake. Let's add this up again. 1.9 plus 7.3 plus 1.9 plus 4.5, that says G, not T. We have 0.252 times 4 plus 0.03 times 3 plus 0.007. Okay, now I'm getting 16.7. Sorry. So 16.7 terabytes. So if you had 16, I judged that as correct. So the -h says human readable. If I just did df, well, that's doing the human readable as well. Sometimes it won't show the G, it'll show like 30 billion, which wouldn't, that's hard to read. Okay, next question, total number of CPU cores. So if we look at /proc/CPU info, this lists all the cores. So if we, this is a, so processor 0 is coming from this CPU. If we look up this CPU, E5-2680 version 3, on the Intel site, the version 3 there is important because this same CPU with different versions has a different number of cores. So there we see there are 12 cores and 24 hyperthreads. A core is basically like a separate CPU. You can run 12 things at once. Hyperthreads are having two things that are using different parts of a core at the same time. So depending on what your workload is, you might actually be able to run 24 threads at once. Okay, if we go to the bottom of this file, we get down to the end and we get to processor 47, and it started with 0, so that's actually 48. So this is 48, and it's actually showing hyperthreads. I'm going to split my screen here and go back up to the top. So this is showing the first CPU, and this is showing the last entry. So the core ID there is, well, there's two numbers that I'm looking at here. So the physical ID, this is the actual CPU number. So the part that's showing here, processor 0, is on physical ID 0, so it's on the first one of these. And if we go down here, the next one is processor 1 is still on physical ID 0. If we go up to processor 11, so 0 up to 11 are on physical ID 0, and then we're still on okay, so then processor 12 is on physical ID 1. Okay, so there's actually two different physical IDs here. So if you knew that, then you would know that there's going to be two of these. And the other number there was core ID. So core ID 13. Well, let's just leave it at that. What we actually have in the system, and that you can get out of this information, is that we have two of these. The CPU info is actually showing 48 processors. So let's put in here. So note we have two Intel. So we have two of each of those has 12 cores and 24 hyperthreads. In total, we have 24 cores and 48 hyperthreads. Okay, so if you said 12 or 24 or 48, I counted it as correct. The best answer here would be 24. Total number of accounts on the system, so this was supposed to be coming from the /etc/pass.user. So then if we just look at the number of lines, which you can use the WC program, WC takes the name of a file and it tells you number of lines, number of words, which is things that are separated by white space, which we don't care about for this question, and number of bytes. So 793 is the answer there. And that depends on whether new users have been added. Okay, and then number 3 was supposed to be some write-in questions you had. So I just gave you 2 points for putting something in there. All right, that's it for the first homework.